Spacewalk officers here in Mission Control report that both suits are operating to perfection as we begin to see Tim Kopra emerging from the Quest airlock. This the start of the third spacewalk of his career. The Quest airlock was installed on the International Space Station during the STS-104 mission of the shuttle Atlantis in July of 2001.
Tim Peake, just keep hanging for a second. We're trying to get a good camera on what we're looking at.
Copy that.
And there is a close-up view of Tim Kopra working at the base of the 1B solar array. Again, as he attaches various pieces of equipment to handrails and other attach points. In the lower left-hand portion of this view is the mast canister for the 1B array. That holds the electronics essentially that governs the operation of the array and the direction of electrical potential down to the sequential shunt unit that will be replaced during the next night pass about 47 minutes from now.
All right, gentlemen, looking great. Glad to see you both out there together on the tip of the world. We have two good WVS views, and they are spectacular.
And Tim Peake now has joined Kopra at the base of the 1B solar array, right at the very end of the starboard truss of the International Space Station.
And Tim Peake, as you work your way around the mast canister there, feel free to look at the load pads and get some situational awareness of what they look like for a fully seated SSU.
And a good view of Tim Kopra, his feet now planted in that portable foot restraint. Again, that will give him leverage as he uses a ratchet wrench and a pistol grip tool to not only break the torque on the single bolt holding the failed sequential shunt unit in place, but ultimately to remove that single bolt and then be joined by Tim Peake to remove the failed unit from its location at the base of the 1B solar array. There are a series of tasks to be conducted by the flight control team here in Houston. They're called inhibits to make sure that all of the electrical systems are placed into a dormant mode during the time that the crew is handling this equipment at the base of the 1B solar array.
Okay, guys, so we're working right now for Tim Kopra off page 13 of the cuff checklist. We know it's a small amount of water. Yep, and I can just read you the steps right now, Tim. We already got the location and the quantity. If there's any way to get a temperature of the water, I don't know if you can move it around to get to that, or to try to drink it and note the taste.
It's about 3 inches above my head, and see if I can make it mobile.
Tim Kopra reporting a small amount of water inside the helmet of his extravehicular mobility unit.
The next little line there is if the DIDB is a confirmed source.
We're handing over communications between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system.
About a half-inch line that I was able to get in front of me, and the water's cold. The secondary water now, it's about half-inch wide, about 2 inches long.
Okay, guys, stand by just for a second.
This is Mission Control Houston at the 4-hour, 10-minute mark into today's EVA.
Guys, you can start opening your cuff checklist to page 7. We are in a terminate case, and we're gathering words for Tim Peake and where we'll leave you there.
Okay, copy that.
82, copy.
So terminate EVA, ingress, crew lock, connect SCU. So I'm going to clean up all my stuff here, read, and start heading back.
Okay, for Tim Kopra, we want you to get your crew lock bag on your BRT and start heading back towards the airlock. For Tim Peake, we're developing words for you. For the most part, it's going to be tying down the bundle you have, giving us a good handrail location of what's going on.
Copy that.
This is Mission Control Houston once again at the 4-hour, 10-minute mark into today's spacewalk. At 10:58 a.m. Central Time, Flight Director Royce Renfrew directed the team to terminate today's spacewalk by Tim Kopra and Tim Peake.
Get it in a low profile. Take a really good WVS survey around with your eyes and make sure that nothing is hanging out or loose. And then we'll take that handrail that's right in front of you that you are tying this thing down to.
Okay, copy that, Reed.
The decision to terminate today's EVA by Kopra and Peake was made after Kopra reported a small amount of water and a small feeling of dampness around his helmet absorption pad, which was installed on all spacewalkers outside of the U.S. segment of the International Space Station following an incident back in July of 2013. On July 16th, 2013, when Chris Cassidy, who's now the chief of the astronaut office, and Luca Parmitano were conducting a spacewalk. It was terminated in that case at the 1-hour, 32-minute mark after Parmitano reported an unexplained buildup of water inside his helmet that was later traced to cooling loop chemistry issues.
And we do need to retrieve that bag, or at a minimum, the PEGT out of that bag.
With the helmet off, the extravehicular mobility unit with the red stripes being assisted by Sergei Volkov on the right, Yuri Malenchenko on the left. Tim Peake is still inside the crew lock section. He'll be brought back inside the equipment lock a short time from now. Obviously, Kopra is in good shape, no issue there. The crew was never in any danger at the time that Kopra reported this small water bubble inside the helmet that you see being held by Yuri Malenchenko. A good overhead view of Tim Kopra back inside the equipment lock section of Quest, being assisted by Scott Kelly in the black shirt. And just on the right is Russian cosmonaut Yuri Malenchenko. They will assist now in removing the SAFER unit, the Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue, the jetpack unit from the back of Kopra's extravehicular mobility unit. Just to recap, today's spacewalk began at 6:48 a.m. Central Time. Kopra and Peake made their way outside of the Quest airlock, set up shop on the starboard truss of the International Space Station, and successfully replaced a failed voltage regulator unit called a sequential shunt unit that stopped operating back on November 13th, taking down one of the power channels on the International Space Station. Other tasks were in the process of being completed by Kopra and Peake when, At about 10:56 a.m. Central Time, Kopra reported a small water bubble had formed inside his helmet. After a brief consultation, Flight Director Royce Renfrew ordered today's spacewalk terminated. The crew made an orderly return back to the Quest airlock, closed the hatch. Kopra and Peake thanked the flight control team for a great job in choreographing today's spacewalk to return the station to a full power capability. They closed the hatch behind them, the spacewalk ending at 11:31 a.m. Central Time at the 4-hour, 43-minute mark when the airlock began its repressurization. And as you can see, Tim Kopra back inside. He'll be joined momentarily by Tim Peake as all of the evidence, water that had formed inside Kopra's helmet, plus the helmet absorption pad that is standard attire inside the helmet for all spacewalkers, and all other pertinent evidence is collected for future engineering analysis.
For any areas where we think the tubing could have leaked, that condensation we would expect that you just saw, since we did go to max cold.
Okay, understand that. Okay, understand that. In the ventilation tube in the middle, there's water, some water in there too. I tried to get some pictures of that.
We copy.